Like this, normally based on all the big they sub for inside the tribunal lifestyle, since una know say INEC they don't bring out their own final written address. Tinubu Shetima they don't bring out their own final written address. APC they don't bring out their own final written address. So today, Labour Party and Peter Obi, which is the petitioners, they don't bring out their own final written address today. So in response to what those ones talk and many other things, as they bring a come out now, 46 pages of violence. Now they bring come out, so but based on say, make an the stress everywhere. One of our vibrant sisters, Miss Pels, don't do bring us summary. And the summary now bring this, so you summarize everything. You're giving her the summary the way she did bring her come out. When I know what's inside the Labour Party final written address. When I listen to me, what damn you listen. He said Labour Party started by stating that Tinubu Shetima in their written address mentioned that Labour Party is inviting anarchy by their ventilation of the issue of non-transmission of results electronically by INEC. The Labour Party's response is that it was a cheap, misguided and destructive blackmail, as they were only canvassing based on a grant of Electoral Act. In reply, Labour Party adopted their issues for determination dated and filed on the 18th day of May 2023 and urged the court to allow them argue the grant of qualification of Tinubu and Shetima together. On the issue of qualification, Labour Party argued that they relied on the U.S. District Court decision, which ordered that the funds in the amount of $460,000 held by First Heritage Bank in the name of Tinubu represented the proceeds of narcotics trafficking or were involved in financial transactions in violation of U.S. laws. The above order was made by the U.S. District Court and was secured to a settlement order. Labour Party further argued that one of the laws the court held was violated on was 18 U.S.C. 1956, which outlaws money laundering. They further argued linking it up with section 137 subsection 1D of the 1999 Constitution that a person shall not be qualified for election to the office of the president if D he is under a sentence or fine for any offense involving dishonesty or fraud. Labour Party mentioned that Tinubu Shetima in their written address stated that the judgment of the U.S. District Court must be registered in Nigeria to be referred in this case. However, this was wrong as the judgment in issue is a money judgment. Labour Party also is in replying the argument of Tinubu Shetima as regards whether a civil forfeiture can be equated to a fine mentioned in that Austin versus United States. The United States Supreme Court held that civil forfeiture in an in-rem civil action is a fine. As regards the disqualification of Shetima, Labour Party mentioned that in their argument that Shetima was not qualified to contest and hence his inability to contest disqualified Tinubu. They relied on section 142 of the Constitution, which makes it mandatory that every presidential candidate must nominate a valid vice presidential candidate. They argued that on the 14th of July 2022, when Shetima accepted nomination for the position of vice president, he was still in the records of the first respondent, which is INEC, as the senatorial candidate of the APC for Borno Senatorial District. They also relied on section 35 of the Electoral Act that says that where a candidate allows himself to be nominated in more than one constituency, his nomination shall be void. In reply to the issue of non-compliance, Labour Party argued that Tinubu Shetima missed the point where they said that Labour Party did not specifically complain about issues like ballot box snatching, insecurity, etc., but focused only on transmission to IREV. Labour Party mentioned that they called witnesses such as PW4, a professor of mathematics who produced and tendered expert report of the data analysis, and PW7, a cloud engineer, etc., who all came to give expert evidence before the court, and their evidence remains unchanged. They mentioned that the implication of section 60 subsection 5 is that the requirement of the transmission or transfer to IREV is a must and was one to attract serious consequences if not done. They further argued that, contrary to the argument of Tinubu Shetima, the blood copies of the result downloaded from IREV cannot by any stretch of imagination be described as the authentic version of the actual Form EC8A. They further argued that if it was the same, INEC would have issued them clean and clear copies instead of certifying blank, blurred, and unreadable images. Still on non-compliance, they mentioned that they provided substantial evidence establishing their case, while Tinubu Shetima did not rebut any. They also made reference to the assurances given by INEC about live transmission as corroborated by evidence in a permanent form exhibit PCK2. As regards the FHC case, which was heavily relied on by the Tinubu Shetima, the Labour Party mentioned that the decision of the court is inferior to, and it is deemed to have been overruled by the Supreme Court in Electoral versus INEC, where the court held that the BVAS is to be used to scan the complete results in Form EC8A and transmit or upload the scanned copies of the polling unit result to the collation system on the INEC results viewing portal. The Labour Party also mentioned that the self-serving glitch excuse is not a valid justification for the violation of the Electoral Act. They also mentioned that a significant highlight of the expert data analysis produced by PW4 upon a proper accurate computation of the result in Rivers and Benue State showed that the petitioners Labour Party won in those states. Finally, Labour Party argued that the return of Tinubu Shetima violates the mandatory provision in the section 134 subsection 2B of the 1999 Constitution. Just the get that. This matter tough. They started by inviting the court to consider section 299 of the Constitution and stated the following: A, 25% vote in the FCT is an additional stand-alone requirement, which is true. B, a literal reading of 134 subsection 2 of the Constitution gives the interpretation that a winning candidate must have 25% of total votes cast in 2/3 of the states in the Federation and the FCT, meaning a winning candidate must obtain 25% in 24 states and in the FCT. This FCT matter, 25%. Labour Party in its reply also referred to Chapter 2 of the Constitution, which stipulates that Nigeria shall be a federation consisting of states and a federal capital territory. They concluded by saying that Tinubu Shetima's defense is discountenanced as devoid of any scintilla of merit and hold Labour Party and Peter Obi's case as meritorious and grant their reliefs. So now the summary of the final address where Labour Party and Peter Obi lawyers dropped today concerning this tribunal matter. So we go see wait. Up next now, they go the respondents, they reply this Labour Party final written address. So anytime they choose to bring out their own final reply to this one, so after the reply, next one the court will come fix dates for adoption of address. So when they follow this matter, when they know the way this tribunal lifestyle so they flow. Anyway, they watch this video from, I think go beg you beg. Don't forget to share this video so that everybody will get interest for this tribunal matter. So many of you see them, they know till it's up for this tribunal matter. So anyway, we just thank God for everything.